the Outtakes podcast. I'm Sam, and I'm joined once again by my amazing team. Well, Sans won, Amelia's feeling unwell. Get well soon, Amelia. But otherwise, this one's for the boys. This one is for the boys. Joe, how's things been, man?
Yeah, been alright. Pretty good. I went outside further than my the shop the other day. That was nice. It was nice to experience the world again, which is something that you watch this in a year, maybe. Who knows? It might not be relevant, but it's relevant right
like
now.
a little time capsule, because Jacob,
exactly.
You have also, me and you have also done the same thing of taking this first big step. Well, I say that we went to work, you know, we went to work. We prepared to go back to work, but you live quite close to work, so was it really all that different for you?
Well, no, ultimately, I suppose not. I mean, we've been doing little walks here and there to go shopping and stuff, but the nearest shop is like a 2-minute walk from where work is. So to walk to that shop is basically the same as walking to work. So
Shame.
It's kind of similar.
Shame.
But, yeah.
It has been refreshing. It has.
The weather's helped. It's been warm this last week or so, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's been good.
Love it.
It's a British heat wave. Where it's hot for more than 2 days, and we all start panicking and they turn our water off.
Yeah, and by hot we mean like more than 14 degrees.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. This is a great start. Pandemic chat, weather chat. Welcome to the Outtakes. Other than that, we've got some actual pop culture news to get through. So I was telling Jacob before we started, this week's compiling of the news was hindered by April Fool's Day. It took just a little bit longer for me to verify everything I was reading was actually real, which was very pleasant. Thank you for that, tricksters and japesters. But as for stuff that I found that's real and relevant, so let's start. We haven't really talked about Star Wars much on the new version of the show. We're all into Star Wars. So one of the biggest things that's happened is vintage Star Wars released on Disney Plus. Now this isn't vintage Star Wars as the original cuts as we might have liked to see. This is the Ewok Caravan of Courage stuff.
No. Has it?
Yeah, have you not seen this?
I was not aware that was coming.
So the Ewok show has gone on there. The early 2000s 2D Clone Wars has gone on there, which is the thing that I'm the most excited about, 100%. Mm-hmm. The segment from the holiday special, the Boba Fett cartoon, has gone on there just in isolation.
Interesting.
Yeah, right?
Smart decision. Yeah.
I mean, I suppose if they put the actual one on there, I mean, it makes no sense for them to put that on at this time in the year. But they did just release that Lego one, didn't they? So,
but that was at Christmas, wasn't it? That was actually
one was. But
November time.
It might be they might be like afraid people are going to be like confusing or something. Like these companies probably think the audience are idiots. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
right.
Like, they're like, oh no, it's called the holiday special. Might get confused. All these human people might get them confused for Lego people. Oh no.
I'd like to see the holiday special go up on there, and I'd also like to see the Droids cartoon go up on there. That's currently not on there, but I would like it. They're doing this kind of cute thing where, like, if you look at it on Disney Plus, it's like in its own little section, and all of the like icons have that, you know, the old Kenner Star Wars box design with the silver rings going around.
Oh, okay.
It is quite nice.
That's
so
nice.
Is there anything else you guys would like to see added to a Star Wars vintage collection? I mean, other than, I assume you probably also would like the old, like, original cuts on there as well.
Yeah, that's
that'd be cool. That would be cool.
I think it was Return of the Jedi, recently-ish, and I was thinking I want to see like the original theatrical release more than anything.
Yeah.
But I'd also what I'd like, you know how they did the Bandersnatch thing on Netflix where you could choose your own adventure kind of thing.
Yeah.
You start off with the original cut, and every time there's a change, you get to pick whether or not you keep the change in your cut of Star Wars.
That's amazing.
So you could like edit out Darth Vader saying no as the Emperor is like electrocuting Luke. You could change Han like shooting second and moving his head across to the side. You can just like use your remote and just
have like an editing mode before you watch it. You're like,
yeah.
Right, what stupid shit do you want to keep and what stupid shit do you want to take away? It's like, right, good
because
stuff.
some of the improved like green and blue screens. I think, yeah, definitely update.
Yeah, like
those.
all the windows added to like Cloud City and Empire.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good job, George Lucas. Putting a fucking rock in front of R2D2 in the original is not a good. It's not a good shout.
It's not.
It's not. No.
But something like that, perfect. That's what I want to see added.
That sounds incredible. Do you know what would be kind of like nice? I guess it would only really work if you're watching it on a computer or a laptop. But you know how like when they remaster a game, where they put out the trailer where they sort of splice a line down the middle of the screen and you can see which one.
Yeah.
You can literally just go back and forth
drag
between
the
each of
slider.
the cuts. Do you know what one thing I need to do is back at my house where I grew up, I have 3 VHS tapes of the original Star Wars trilogy that I acquired from a charity shop, and I am not entirely convinced, that I've never been entirely convinced that they are legitimate copies of the films, right? Not necessarily that there's anything wrong with the tapes, it's just the artwork on the VHS covers is a little bit odd on all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need to acquire these tapes and acquire a VHS player because, and I could be wrong about this could be like one of those pseudoscience sort of Mandela effect things happening to me, but I think I might have a version of the film where Han's head doesn't move.
Oh.
Right
Oh,
now,
son of a bitch.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong, and I need to verify it. But because I watched those tapes a lot as a kid, and then when I gained access to the internet, and everyone was like, "Oh, Greedo shot first, Han shot first," I actually didn't get the joke. I fully didn't get the joke, which makes me think that I've seen a version of the film without that addition.
I remember the thing. I remember the actual original version. It just everything just kind of goes up in a puff of smoke, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How thing is. I remember the ones we had were the very first time he edited them, I think, and I don't think the head thing happens in that. I think it's the one after that one.
Right.
So
see, I think I might even. Sorry, no, go on, Joe.
No, I was just gonna say I think I remember because I'm sure I'm like I remember watching it with the thingy, the head thing, and no, not the head thing, and then seeing the head thing and being like, you know, what the fuck, you know, weird as fuck. But like, I don't know.
Like
I can't
I feel
remember which
like
version it was added in.
I feel like the ones that I've had also might not have had that weird scene. You know where they put Jabba into A New Hope?
Yeah.
Oh,
I remember
no,
watching Star Wars and not having that in. That's like a very recent. That's like one of the last few ones, I think.
Yeah, it was like the early 2000s, like after
that.
Phantom Menace.
I think that was 2004. That one, the 2004 remasters.
It was quite recent. Yeah, I think it was the DVD cut, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's only ever actually been in 2 versions. It's been in, the 2004 one, just back out. Yeah, the DVD. I think when they came out on DVD, and then it was in the Blu-ray ones as well. Because there's only 2 versions of the CGI Jabba, I think, unless they've done it again recently. I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm
technically,
not sure.
the Disney Plus one has been updated again, like the 4K version, because that's when McClunky got added.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because wasn't he doing that, though? Wasn't that what he was making before?
Phantom Menace got
as they were
re-released in
thinking.
3D, and they were all going to get a 3D cut, and the McClunky is part of what was the working 3D A New Hope cut.
Ah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah,
So
right?
they just kind of got the...
Very weird.
Because I remember reading a thing ages ago about how the reason they've not really... They can't re-release the actual original cuts is because they don't own the original cuts, but like they own... I don't understand how it works
So-
legally, like...
They didn't own the original cuts. They do now. So
Oh,
I don't know exactly how or where it happened because I'm not a lawyer. But when they bought the IP Star Wars, they bought everything that Lucasfilm currently owned, which was all the versions of Star Wars that Lucas had since recut. The original distribution rights to Star Wars remained with Fox.
Oh, okay.
But
So
now Disney own Fox. So they could, if they had access to the footage, they could re-release it. And this year is, 50 years of Lucasfilm?
Yeah.
Is
I'm
it?
not saying that means original cuts confirmed, but I am saying that it's a good excuse to do it.
If you
I
were
think it's
Fox,
good.
when Fox sold Star Wars to Disney, yeah, you've just made a shit ton of money on that. But also, wouldn't you just try and make as much money as you could selling the original cuts?
You'd think.
Yeah.
You would have done that, surely. People would gobble that up. But
I'm honestly surprised it's not a thing, you know what I mean? Like, people are so... It's one of those things, in it, like, where... I mean, it would have to be... It wouldn't be the original, as in, like, they've just taken the film and then made digital, and then there you go.
Yeah.
I feel like they'd have to enhance it and make it 4K and stuff.
I
And
think that has sort of been done. I'm sure there's a way you
there's a thing, isn't there?
Someone
I
on
know there's-
Reddit, it's probably Reddit, if it's someone else on a different website, soz. But
There's-
they've taken all of the original footage, digitized it, scaled it up to 4K, and then there are like several download links that you
there's
can
a thing
download it for free in like Blu-ray condition,
That's
and then
rad.
instructions on how to burn it onto a Blu-ray, which is
It's called
insane.
there's there's a version of it. It's called, what's it called? It's got like a name. It's called the despecialized edition, I think.
That's it is, yeah.
Yeah. And essentially, like he's got a lot of the original footage, but what he's done is, as well, he's kind of taken bits and pieces of all the other different versions and essentially used them to recreate the 3 original, in the Blu-ray like quality kind of thing. Like, I never actually watched them. No, I watched the first one, like, in college, and it's pretty mad. You kind of don't know. Like, you know the main differences, you know what I mean? Like, you know all the little stupid stuff they added. But there's, like, other stuff in there that you just you didn't even know that he changed, and you're like, alright, fair enough. Just,
Right.
Mos Eisley and stuff looks a bit barren, honestly.
Yeah, because it takes
There's
out
not
all
really
the
much in
creatures.
it, yeah.
Yeah,
There's really not... It's like, you notice the things that he added for no reason, but then you also notice the things that actually make it kind of better that he's added. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really weird.
That's why I want
It's
to
like-
choose your own edit path on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
It does
would be
shock
kinda
me
cool.
they've not bothered to do it, because I think that this is different to... It's not the same as the whole like Snyder Cut debacle. This is just like giving someone that extra option. You know, like the way that when you go and pick up a Blu-ray of Blade Runner, there is always like 3 different versions of the film you can pick up. I think this would just be a big... and Lord of the Rings, you know, do you buy Lord of the Rings or do you buy the extended cut? Same thing. Like, I think this would just be another way to sell Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I'm so surprised, even just from a business perspective, that they've not bothered to do it. Sticking with Star Wars slightly is the sad news that the new Lego Star Wars has been delayed indefinitely again. And it's one of these. So Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. I was talking about this with one of our mates, who asked me, you know, are you excited for it? And you know, this might get a bit controversial because the Lego games are very beloved now because we grew up with them. You know, we had good times with them, but I, not that long ago, was trying to play, I want to say it was like the Hobbit one or the Lord of the Rings one. And I was very keenly aware that these games aren't made for me anymore.
Yeah.
It got boring pretty quickly. And I'm really worried that a game that it's made for and marketed at kids, people are getting rabid for it because it keeps getting delayed, but they're all people our age. They're all people in their 20s who are going to play it. And the humor's going to be different because it's all spoken voice now still.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really kid-friendly puzzles, and they're all going to be disappointed and shit on it. And I hope that doesn't happen, but like...
Didn't he think it?
Didn't
he say that they're looking into adding... I mean, I remember watching a thing with one of the developers. I don't know whether this is still something they're doing, but I remember seeing him say that they were looking into having a mode where you can switch off the voices, essentially. So you can have it so they just make the noises like they used to. And they're kind of looking into... Because a lot of people were asking him for it, and the guy was just like, yeah, we're looking into doing something like that. He didn't say that that's what they were doing, because I imagine it would become... It would be a lot more work than it sounds like. You can't, you can't just turn off the voices, because if they're making the noises, you then got to redo the whole comedy of it all. You know what I mean? It's got to be
all the animation will be different as well, because
they have to redo all the animation and you got to like do all it's like the comedy that would have maybe then been there by what they're saying is now going to have to be like physical comedy.
Yeah.
So it might be a lot bigger it might be a bigger task than it seems, but it'd be kind of cool if that's the option. Like switch it between.
I'd like that.
Call it like classic mode or something.
One of the charming things about the old Lego Star Wars, I think a lot about, it was in the second one, and it's the "I am your father" scene where Darth Vader pulls out the family photograph.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice when you have to adapt that stuff for like not silent, you know what I mean, non-verbal jokes. I think it works well. I mean, to be fair to them, it does sound like a really like ambitious project. Like, I don't know how much you guys have been tracking it, but they're talking about you can fly between all the planets and stuff. I don't know how much of a menu replacement that just turns out to be, but like you can fly between all the planets. They're redoing combat, so it's like kind of like a bit of a third-person shooter in some segments, and I don't know how it's on the track, but
Lego Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Yeah,
I didn't actually play it. I never ended up playing it.
Yeah, a lot of that's while it feels like totally different and unlike the original Star Wars games did, I kind of hope that the new one isn't just that, because a lot of it was some of the new mechanics, like the third person shooting, was different and interesting, but whatever. It's not super exciting for me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the fact that it's taken such a while. Admittedly, there's a pandemic going on, but a lot of the other games where it just feels like they've just reskinned it and added in some new characters and animations, feels like it wouldn't take too much just to quickly release a new version of something. So the fact that it's taking such a long time, pandemic aside, I think might be a good thing, that they're not just gonna
I think so too.
rush it and put it out.
My hope really is that, because I still think obviously it's a game that's going to be targeted at and should be targeted at its primary demographic, that being the 6 to 10 year olds of today. But if they're using it to make a new groundwork for the Lego games, because at the end of the day, if you've played any Lego game, you've played all the Lego games. They're so ridiculously similar. And if they're maybe using Star Wars as the opportunity to lay the new groundwork for something fresh and a bit different, I'd still like to give it a go. So take your time on it. Hope no crunch is happening. Maybe it'll be good. Jumping over to, we've had lots of news coming out of Warner Brothers. So the big one, Suicide Squad trailer came out. The Suicide Squad trailer came out. James Gunn's Suicide Squad. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming we've seen it. What do we think?
Yes.
Looks good. I like it.
It looks better than the thing one, the last one did. A lot better. Considerably better than... Like, I remember even watching the trailer for the other one. I remember the day it coming out as well. And the big thing was like, Jared Leto's Joker's in it. He says that shitty line at the end. And I just remember thinking, like, it doesn't look the best. But this actually looks alright, yeah. Looks good. I enjoy it.
It looks very James Gunn, doesn't it?
It does look very James Gunn. Yeah. I think one of the things that stood out to me is it looks like, to me, it's a trailer for a good movie. It's not a good trailer, if that makes sense. Like, it is a good trailer, but like, I'm thinking about the Aya Suicide Squad Bohemian Rhapsody trailer. That was a great trailer. That got us all pumped. The main reason the majority of people saw that movie was because of the Bohemian Rhapsody trailer. But the movie underneath, I think we all perhaps should have seen the writing on the wall. Whereas this looks like it's got a lot more thought in. It looks a lot more fun. I said watching it, it's the most immediately appealing thing DC have put out since maybe the Lego Batman movie. And one of the big things that I appreciate is, I think I was talking about this with you, Joe, actually. So James Gunn seems to appreciate that comics are silly and should be silly, right?
Yeah.
When Starro shows up in the Suicide Squad trailer and he's literally a giant blue starfish with a big eye in the middle, my guy gets it, right? Yeah. And I appreciate that. And compare and contrast that with, like, having just recently watched the Snyder Cut. This is the thing that I was talking about with you, Joe. In that universe, the Snyderverse, characters like Gorilla Grodd, they just can't exist.
No, there's no way.
It just doesn't make any sense because he's too frightened of the... That's one of the Flash's major villains. Like, that's essentially like his Brainiac, Just can't exist. There can't be a super intelligent gorilla race that exists in a secret city in this universe. Not a chance. Whereas now, this, I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
Have fun
It's
with
kind
it.
of thingy, isn't it? Like, they've kind of... The Flash that's in the Justice League, he's kind of been... It's really... I think to have, like, Gorilla God, Jesus. To have him kind of, like, in a Flash film now, I feel like they'd have to restructure the whole of Flash. I mean, I'm not saying just use the one that the thingy... They'd have to get, like, a whole new... Flash, but they'd have to do something similar to what they've done with Suicide Squad, where they kind of just redo it again, but like they'd have to frame it in an entirely different way, because like even if the film and a film completely unrelated to Justice League, the Ezra Miller's version of Flash, I just can't see that version just stood alone, not even included in the Justice League world. That version that's been created, just he can't fight. I can't see him fighting a giant monkey, you know what I mean?
All right.
Like, and even saying that, I can't even imagine, like, fucking the one from the CW fighting a giant bloody gorilla. And he has. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah, he's in it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Flash, I don't know, you'd have to, like, approach, like, this. I think to have stuff like that, and for it to work, the whole film would have to be like, oh, look how kind of silly this whole Flash thing is, you know, kind of thing. And yeah, I don't think, you know, I could see if like they made James Gunn's Suicide Squad universe like its own kind of thing. I could see it existed in that. Just give it like a different thingy. Like, I imagine the Batman in that is the Batman that you get kind of like in the Justice League like TV show and stuff. Like, I imagine the Batman in the James Gunn universe is kind of like, you know, he's really dark and broody or whatever, but like all his mates don't really take him seriously, you know what I mean? Like, all the criminals are scared of him, but then he's being all like dark and broody he's basically just the Lego Batman movie version of Batman. You know, he's really like, I'm really dark and broody, and then he's like, Batman, you sly dog, you know, that's kind of like what I imagine. And I kind of want that universe, you know what I mean? I'm kind of bored of the old, you know, like the kind of the dark and the you know, angsty teen version of all the heroes was, you know, it was cool in 2013 when I was an angsty teen, but I'm over it now, you know what I mean? I want proper, just stupid shit, like...
Fully. Warner Brothers is saying they are trying to pull things together, and they essentially asked fans for patience recently, which is telling about what the fans are like. But we are slowly starting to see what that like sort of consolidation and pouring together is going to look like. So they have cancelled 2 projects, which is a bit sad. So one of them is Ava DuVernay and Tom King's New Gods movie, which, to be fair, the DC universe is not ready for a New Gods thing. The movie stuff,
no,
you know, that's deep Jack Kirby sci-fi stuff. Like, it sounds like it would have been great, and Tom King's a fantastic writer as well, but I think it probably wouldn't have gelled well. And I don't know anything about this, but James Wan was working on an Aquaman spin-off called The Trench.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a horror film or something.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's gonna be... So, the whole thing with The Trench, it's in Aquaman, it's like the really deep part of the ocean where loads of like monsters and shit live. I don't think it would... I remember them announcing that they would do it, that he was doing a spin-off, and I was like, I like... When he said they cancelled it, I didn't feel any, you know what I mean? I wasn't sad, but I wasn't happy. I was just kind of like, I probably wouldn't have watched it anyway. And I feel like I've not met a single person who first even, well, if they actually knew about it to begin with, which most people didn't even know that it was happening, and if they did, they were kind of like the same. They were like, all right, I'm not that bothered. You know, it's probably, it would have been a throwaway movie is my point. Unless it was like amazing, but you know, I don't think it would have been.
Sounds like they're learning to take their time with stuff.
Yeah. So that brings us on to the very last thing of evidence of them trying to pull things together is the announcement. I don't think any character is going to say this in the movie, but this is the announcement that the Batman is going to take place on Earth 2. So I don't think there's going to be a designation in the film. I don't think they're going to say this is when it's set. But what I do imagine is, from an internal standpoint, they're going to just classify things as like multiversal, perhaps as a way to say to creative teams, please, for now, do your own thing. Because like Joker really worked, right? Like it's not my thing. It's not what I would have done with the character, but it resonated. It got nominated for awards. It won awards. Like, from a commercial and critical standpoint, that movie worked. And it was totally isolated from everything else. I think they have perhaps learned, after 10 years of trying not to do this, to just do what the MCU did and do completely separate movies to begin with, and then bring them together later when you've got fans of them.
Yeah.
Like James Gunn's Suicide Squad, I imagine, because they gave him creative control, I imagine he's kept exactly what he wanted. Jai Courtney, Margot Robbie, I can't remember who plays Rick Flag or Amanda Waller.
He's kept Viola Davis.
Viola Davis. Yeah.
I can't remember what the guy called who plays Rick Flag, though. He's the guy from like a bunch of other stuff.
Suicide Squad.
He's also in Altered Carbon as well. Well, the first season of it.
Oh yeah, he is.
He's obviously, James has kept that stuff, but I don't imagine it was a case of like, I'm working within the Ayaverse or the Snyderverse or whatever. I think he's just kept what he thought worked.
I actually Googled it the other week when the trailer came out, and essentially, I think someone asked James Gunn, where does it say? Is it like a sequel? Is it not? And then I can't remember exactly what he said, but I remember the essence of what he said was, it's a movie, don't think about it too much. It's just separate. It's just, it's, it's not a sequel. It's not a sequel. It's just a Suicide Squad movie, You get the concept, you already know what the concept is because of the first movie. They'll probably retouch on it in the second movie briefly. We've seen the bit where he plants the things in the heads and stuff, and she recruits him in the prison in the trailer. It's not going to be really, hopefully that scene won't be really just boring like the first one was, where one's in a fucking shark tank or whatever, like fucking sewer, and the other one's, I don't know, in some cage, and he's like, I'm really angry, I'm on fire or whatever. And then there's that really weird bit where Harley Quinn puts her clothes on, all the people are like great, good stuff, can't believe I paid to watch this kind of situation.
Right. Yeah, I think James Gunn's statement there makes total sense, and I think the same thing's going to happen. Like, if Robert Pattinson's Batman gels well with people, and the Suicide Squad gels well with people, and Black Adam gels well with people, maybe they later announce, whoa, look, Dwayne Johnson's hanging out with Robert Pattinson, and everyone goes, whoa, that's weird, but cool. But for now, let's not worry about it, and let's just try and make some good films. Baffling that it took them that long to figure that out, but we're figuring it out. So moving on to like the what have we been watching sort of segment. So it's not strictly what we've been watching. So we're gonna go in a circle and shout out some stuff. But I'm gonna kick us off just because we were briefly talking about what my point was going to be later. I have been replaying the Arkham games. Mate of ours started streaming them, and I was watching him play Asylum, and I was like, fuck man, this game's really good. Like, I knew that, I'd played it twice already, but like, you forget how good Arkham Asylum is, It all gels into this thing afterwards, but it's so tightly designed. So I took advantage of a little deal on PlayStation, 16 quid for all three. Bung them straight on. And I recently finished Arkham City, and I've just started up Arkham Knight. And Arkham Knight was the one that I never finished when it originally came out, because it's not as good.
Is that
That's the one I've only played one?
It's the most recent one. So the thing with the Arkham Knight is, it's not anywhere near as bad as I remember it being, and it's not anywhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's as far as gameplay goes, it's probably the strongest actually. Like,
definitely. It adds a lot of new stuff. That's really good. That's really cool.
It's not, the levels aren't as well designed as Asylum, but the combat feels better than ever. Like, the ways Batman can use gadgets for stealth and changing up scenarios is really good. The Batmobile sucks. It's fucking weird. Yeah. But, like, everything else is pretty tight.
It's not the Batmobile, is it?
That's the tank thing.
It's the tank thing.
Yeah.
Left and right and stuff.
And this is the point I'm going for, right? So, the biggest problem with Arkham Knight is its drastic dip in storytelling. So spoilers for a 6-year-old game. Also spoilers for your life. You don't care. The Arkham Knight is Jason Todd, right?
I mean,
which was
it doesn't
a
really
dumb
hide
twist.
it, does it?
No, it was a dumb twist when it happened.
It's very. It's not very subtle. It kind of just gives you the flashback straight away, and it's very like.
How did they reveal that? Did they have him like go and pick up like a bag, and they said, "Oh, you should use your legal name."
In case you didn't know.
Yeah.
Goes to buy some alcohol. He's like, "Can I have some ID?" Slow motion as it reveals his name.
This is Jason Todd, and then in brackets, Robin? Question mark? Close bracket.
You know what they do is he takes his mask off and he's got a J like on his face. He's actually got like the Joker does in the Suicide Squad. He's got a J just under his eye. I'm not fucking joking.
Oh, okay.
Weird.
The worst part about it for me is that I remember us proper theorizing before it came out, like, who's he going to be? Who's he going to be? And we were like, oh man, imagine if it's just like Jason Todd or something boring like that. And then as soon as I started playing it, the way they give it away so early in the game is they all of a sudden you just start getting like Batman just starts having flashbacks to a time when the Joker killed a Robin. As soon as I saw that flashback, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, it's going to be Jason Todd, isn't it? It is, and he's going to become the Red Hood, and then it happened. As soon as I saw Jason Todd tied in that chair, I was like, right, well, there you go. I know what the end of the game is. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it just annoys me.
The worst thing about it is so the framing device of the game is that Scarecrow intimidates everyone into evacuating Gotham. He's like, I'm going to spread fear gas all over Gotham in 3 days. Everyone get out. Because he's got like a bigger plan. The thing is, the Batman Rogues Gallery is so good. It's one of the strongest Rogues Gallery in all of comics.
Yeah.
And Scarecrow, like, all of them get eclipsed by the Joker because everyone who writes Batman wants to write the Joker at some point and they need to stop. Scarecrow, I think, is one of the best.
Yeah,
I really love the Scarecrow.
Scarecrow was like my favourite when I was like, I like the Joker obviously, but like the Joker's one of those ones where everyone just likes the Joker, so like, you know, when
it's not
you
cool
say
to
like
him anymore.
yeah, kind of like when someone says to you like, who's your favourite Batman villain, I kind of just put the Joker out my mind, you know what I mean? Because it's kind of like everyone likes the Joker. You're basically asking me who other than the Joker is my favourite, you know what I mean? Yeah. And a lot of the time I would say Scarecrow or like the Riddler or something. I really like Two-Face as well, actually.
And it's sad for me to see Scarecrow play second fiddle to Jason fucking Todd, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, the storytelling is a mess, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? So I took a look, and so the first 2 games are written by Paul Dini, who wrote the Batman animated series.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a man in the world that better understands Batman. Like, there's a moment in Asylum. There's loads of moments all over those 2 games, but there's one that really stands out to me as like an excellent example of how to write Batman, where Harley Quinn drops a elevator on him, and he dodges out the way, and he contacts Oracle, and he says, oh, Quinn tried to drop an elevator on me. And she goes, did it work? And he goes, what do you think? And I love that so much, because not only the writing, but the performance informs me that this is a man who has elevators dropped on him all the time. And he just finds it funny at this point. His world is so twisted and mad, and he's got to deal with these weirdos all the time, that this is a standard occurrence to the point that he's joking about it.
Yeah.
Whereas Batman in Arkham Knight, and by proxy, Batman in almost all modern media, isn't allowed to joke about anything.
No.
It's so dire. It's
See, that's
sad all the time.
That's why I love the thing. The animated series is the best adaptation of Batman comics of all the media. Like, it is just...
Yeah.
The stories are so good. The look of it is just perfect. The music's amazing. Like, in my mind, these games are just like a continuation. They're set in the animated series.
Yeah.
Because it's got most of the same voice actors. You know, it's the same style. Granted, you know, they got rid of like the red sky and stuff that they have in the anime, but that doesn't really translate well. But they kept all like the huge, like Gotham, especially in Arkham City. You know, Gotham is like beyond the walls. Like, it's fucking huge. It's massive. It's so like menacing, like looming down, and just everything. It's just that's what makes the Arkham games so good. Is it literally is just a continuation of the fucking animated series, but as a game. And like, yeah, I like them. And then the third, and then and then obviously Arkham Knight. Is it written by someone else?
Right.
Knight?
So this is the thing is what it's revealing to me potentially is what I think is the larger problem with Batman and potentially a lot of current DC media. So I looked at the writers and there's 3 writers and 1 consultant. The 3 writers are just in-house staff at Rocksteady. I won't hold anything against them. You know, it's whatever. It's just their job to write video game stories. Video game stories are usually wank anyway. The consultant who came up with a lot of the plot stuff was chief shitwanker himself, Jeff Johns.
Oh, no.
And well, Jeff Johns is DC and Warner's Kevin Feige, and recently he's allegedly been really rough with people like Ray Fisher, women in general who work at DC.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's the chief editor. He writes just the worst stories. Like he didn't used to. Something went wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna say like his comics, like when he was just writing comics and stuff, like they were alright. Some of his didn't he write like Flashpoint and stuff?
Yep.
Yeah,
Pretty
he
sure.
wrote Flashpoint and he wrote another one that I'm.
Did he write Blackest Night?
I think he did. Yeah. See, these are huge things. I don't know. You just went down the wrong path.
More recent.
What happened?
More recent like comics of his include the Doomsday Clock, which was the DC Watchmen crossover, which was beyond awful, beyond awful, to the point that I couldn't even start breaking it down without making this like a 3-hour podcast off the bat. It's and to me, since he's in control of everything DC oversees, I can't help but think that like the reason that we're getting a bland, characterless Batman who drives a fucking tank is because that's what he thinks Batman should be. And I just couldn't disagree more.
Yeah. I get kind of like the feeling that like, and I kind of get this feeling from like Zack Snyder as well, that when they think Batman, they think like, instead of it being like, oh, you know, his Batmobile is, you know, what he had in the comics, it's iconic, you know, he has it for this reason. It's like, oh, but you could have a fucking tank, it would look so cool. Imagine him shooting out the fucking tank, he's like shooting guns. That's what I imagine the type of like people they are when they come to fucking thingy.
Right.
Like I get, you know, it's, Zack Schneider can kind of get away with it because he's a director, you know what I mean? His whole medium is about making a visual film, you know, so I can understand him being like that. But he writes comics for a living. He doesn't. Yeah. He's not the artist. He's literally. His whole job is about understanding the characters. And he's like, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if he had a tank? No, it wouldn't be cool if he had a tank. Wouldn't it be cool if he had metal bloody suit instead of that? No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, right.
I don't want it. I don't want like Batman with loads of pads all over him. It looks shit.
Starting up Arkham Asylum, and he has the costume on, and it's like the fucking one from the 80s movies where he looks like he can't even move his head. In fact, I don't think he does move his head in the game.
No, I don't think he does. He just adapts to it, doesn't he? He just moves his whole body. Like, that's what I want. Works.
It's Batman. Yeah, so yeah, I've been playing those games. It's been a trip, but I also think that coming to the end, I think it's indicative of a larger problem DC have been encountering. So, going around, Jacob, anything you have been watching, playing, reading? Anything you want to discuss?
Playing. Did a bit of Battlefront 2 earlier on this week. That game, rockiest of starts, but it's fun. Playing with a couple of mates. It's good. It's good stuff, although that Supremacy mode takes ages. But
that's the one that can go back and forth a lot, can't it? Ground, sky battles.
Yeah, so, you start off just capturing command posts. Just the classic Battlefront stuff. And then once you've had a certain number for long enough, you'll jump on a ship, fly up to a capital ship, and have to go and destroy stuff. And if you lose, you go back down to the ground. It takes ages, but it's great fun. That's still a good fun game. Watching what I've been watching. Oh, we've been doing a bit of a rewatch of Parks and Rec.
Oh, nice.
Good show.
It's a good show.
Love that. I've seen it before, but watch it again. It's fantastic. What else
to me,
have I been watching?
Parks and Rec is like, it's like the Pleasant Office, you know? It's like they went, what if we did this show exactly, but everyone's weird, but they're not fucking terrible people. You know, that's,
Yes. Yeah.
they're not the worst people you've ever met. And bizarrely, it works, and I have to kind of credit them for that, because part of the appeal of The Office is that you just get in this loophole viewpoint into the worst people imaginable. And so I'm impressed that they've managed to keep it working in Parks and Rec, which tonally is so different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good fun. I'm sure I've watched some films recently. Train to Busan. That's a good film.
It's good. It is a good film.
It's a good film.
Korean zombie film. It's good.
What else has I been watching? A couple of films I got recommended. I heard on a podcast were good. One called Moxie. Speaking of Amy Poehler, that's on Netflix.
Saw the trailer for that. Yeah,
that's quite a good watch.
I've seen probably about. I wasn't watching it, but I was in the room when someone was watching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, didn't have my full attention, but it's one of those things where like, you don't start watching it, but then you kind of casually just kind of zone into it.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you've watched the whole film. Yeah, it's alright.
Because Amy Poehler, have you seen that other movie she made? Wine Country.
No, but that title rings a bell.
It's all right. Good. It's not incredible, but it's all right. But she's a good director, honestly, Amy Poehler. So it's about like these girls. They used to work at like a pizza parlor together, and they have but they're all like in the 40s and 50s now, and they all have like a reunion and go on like a coach trip together, and it's just what they get up to on the way. It's well written. It's nice. It's funny. It's nothing spectacular, but it's enjoyable. And Moxie, to me, it looked a little bit like that, but I read a take on Moxie which I thought was interesting, which was that they didn't really know who it was for, because the actual target demographic, like our generation, Gen Z, that Moxie seems to be aiming at, already knows about a lot of the issues that it brings up in the first place pretty intimately. So it doesn't really work as like a PSA piece for them. And it would probably be unappealing to anyone who's older. Now, I don't know if that's true. That's just the take that I read. I don't know if you could comment on that at all.
I mean, that's fair enough. It wasn't like a groundbreaking. Look at these atrocious things that happen in a high school all the time. Because as we said, we all kind of already know about what happens.
Yeah.
And all the bad things that go on, but it's the fact that it's just keeping it in the spotlight, keeping it relevant. Is this issue hasn't just gone away because we've exposed it? It's still ongoing, and something still needs to be done.
It's like have either of you seen 8th Grade, Bo Burnham's movie?
No.
It's good, you know. It's really good. That's come on Netflix recently, and I won't spoil anything because I think you should both watch it. But there's some. It kind of lures you into a false sense of like it's gonna be a fun time, you know, coming of age movie, and then some of the scenes are so dark and so uncomfortable, and like really, really uncomfortable. Like they're properly pushing you, and it's so worth a watch. It's so worth it. I won't say any more than that because it's really worth it.
Okay. Speaking of Bo Burnham, also watched Promising Young Woman, which got nominated for awards.
That looks stunning. I've not seen that yet.
I've not watched it yet. I'm going to watch it soon.
Recommend that. Yeah, if you have a VPN or you have another way of watching movies.
It's on Sky, I think. I can watch it on Sky.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
It wasn't when I tried to watch it, but I definitely recommend checking it out. Because
I'm sure
he's
it is.
also
I think it is.
Yeah.
Because Promising Young Woman does that thing where, and I think this is really smart, because obviously it's about discussing like assault and predators and all this stuff, but it twists it all on its head. It doesn't do the traditional guy luring down a back alley kind of predator. It specifically casts all these charming men from like comedy, you know, which I think was a really, really interesting technique and way of discussing it. Yeah, that movie looks great.
But yeah, would recommend that as well. Reading wise, I don't read.
What am I, a nerd?
So, yeah, I don't read. So I've not read anything. That's pretty much.
It's fair.
Pretty much my time. Yeah, there you go.
That's fair. What about you, Joe? Anything you want to shout out?
I mean, I've just been kind of like rewatching stuff. Like, I might have said it the other week. I said the other week. I watched Doctor Sleep, didn't I? Said that, but like I watched like Ad Astra again. I don't know if any of you have seen Ad Astra, the one with Brad Pitt, the space one.
No.
Good. I enjoy it. It's pretty. It's nothing like new or anything. Like it doesn't bring anything new. It just kind of takes things. So essentially, it's just like. It's kind of like Apocalypse Now in space with, kind of realism that's in like 2001 and stuff. Like using real brands, but like in 2001, he goes to a Hilton. That's the space station. In this, when he flies to the moon, he uses Virgin Atlantic, but it's not Virgin Atlantic. It's like Virgin Galactic or whatever the space one. Yeah, it's like that. He uses stuff like that. It's good. It's good. Brad Pitt's in it, and he's like, it looks really good. Like the cinematography is really good, and the set down's really good. But yeah, like I said, it's nothing like the story's nothing special. Well, it's not terrible though. And then just watching like a bunch of other stuff I haven't seen for ages. They announced the other day, was it yesterday or today, that Thingy starts filming in July. The Last of Us TV show.
Oh shit!
Starts filming in Canada. So I started watching Thingy yesterday. I never actually finished watching. The guy who's writing. The guy who's writing Last of Us is the guy who wrote the game, but also is the other guy who wrote Chernobyl.
Yeah.
And I
I'd never watched
that.
Chernobyl,
I only got like 3 episodes in, which granted there's only 5 episodes, but I've started watching that again yesterday and I've only got like 1 episode left and it's good. It is really good. That first episode is like really good as well. So I know it's like 2 years old now, but I'd recommend that.
I was the exact same when I was first watching it. I only got 3 episodes in, even though I was over halfway, and I just stopped. But that first episode is immense. So that's something else that's on my list of.
I'd be interested to see, watching. With The Last of Us, because my big thing for a long time since they announced that TV show is how is it going to possibly make itself stand out in amongst other zombie media? Because to be honest with you, The Last of Us works so well because zombie video games media is usually one particular way. It's comedy, it's zany, it's over the top, it's COD zombies, it's Sniper Elite Nazi zombies, it's Red Dead Undead Nightmare. So to take a grounded, more human story and have the zombie element, the post-apocalyptic element, is what made The Last of Us stand out in video games. But that's all zombie media is in TV and film.
Yeah, like
so
the entire Walking Dead is just
really
that.
Gonna.
I think it's got a lot more work to do than the game did. I mean, obviously the game, the app thingy, but story-wise as well, and because this is the whole thing, right? When in the game, if say there was a bit where they didn't know what to do, they wanted to pad it out a bit, add just a bit where you got to fight some dudes, or you got to run away from some clickers or something. That's not something they can do in this. Now, granted, it might actually be a good thing. It might be quite easy to adapt because they can just cut out things like that and just have the story. But at the same time, there are bits in the story. It's about the bit that they're gonna have to have like proper figured out is adapting the gameplay and trying to make it fun to watch rather than fun to play as well. Because a lot of that game, the fun bits, the scary parts of that game, I wouldn't say. I mean, people find them scary. I don't really get scared by games anyway. But the bits which would be the tense bits are the bits where you're like hiding from the clickers. It's pitch black, but you can hear them clicking in the dark and stuff. Which it might not be that hard to adapt, but to do it in an interesting way, I feel like if they just take it boring, like it's dark, you can hear clickings in the dark, it works. It's kind of boring though, because that's what every horror film does,
As long as they don't try and force the video game mechanics down your throat, like, there's this flooded bit of underpass here. Let me go and find you a pallet, and then I'll go drag it over, and you can jump on the pallet. As long as it's just more.
Can you imagine if a weapon wheel showed up on TV?
Oh no! It turns out the whole thing's just been someone's been playing the game, has been game capturing it the whole time, just screen recording it.
See, things like the pallet. Yeah, I told. There's bits in that game where they do the pallet thing. Like there's a bit where you go, it's just when you get to the dam and you got to go get the pallet and you got to pull the things at the same time. You don't need none of that shit. the only palette place that I would ever say, I say they use it at least once, and they use it to have like a moment, between the characters or something. But it's not just let's push the palette so you can get across. They've got to use it. They've got to make it like a bit that maybe a conversation that maybe they had in the game like earlier on in like a corridor or something. They have on the palette instead, but don't keep using the palette. The palette's got to be like a one thing. It's like, right, well, you know what we need to do here? Palette time.
The thing is, because doing shows like this, like in The Last of Us, when I got bored, I would just take a brick out and throw it at someone.
Yeah.
You know? I would just I had that option to put a brick in my hand and throw it at any random NPC, and they would never react, so I could keep throwing at them until I was interested again. But with TV, I mean, I suppose I could throw a brick at someone, but I'd get arrested. So my only other option is to turn it off. So they really, they do have to make sure everything's it's all killer, no filler, really.
I think they better not. I think one thing they need to do is, I don't actually know how many episodes it is. If they said how many episodes it's going to be, is it like?
Don't think so.
It's HBO in it, so I don't even know how many. 6 or 8 or something.
Hopefully, like 10 maximum.
Yeah, how many episodes does HBO normally do? So that's because it must be like high.
It varies a lot, honestly.
I mean, I think if it's 8, then that would split it up quite nicely. You know what I mean? There's 4 sections of the game, the different seasons. Every 2 episodes could be the different season. Like, I think if they... I feel like if the first season's not going to be the entire first game, I don't know how... I can't decide whether or not that's good or not, you know what I mean? Like, do you think the first... Because there's a lot to fit in there, but also at the same time, you've got a TV show to do it with. It's not like it's a film.
Exactly.
So
you can condense all the important stuff and keep only that. But again, I worry that there's very little to distinguish it from other zombie media. I hope it's a good show, but I honestly, I think very little faith.
They stick to the story, and then they've already said they're adding like a bunch of new stuff anyway to it that wasn't in the game to help fill it out. But to me, the fact that they need to add that makes me think that the story of the game didn't fill the whole show's runtime. So either that or they've realised stuff doesn't work for the TV show that did for the game. Like they're the only 2 things. I think it's exactly pallets more than once thingying. Constantly getting his bag down and wrapping stuff around his arm and shit like that. Doesn't work in the game. I don't need to see Pedro Pascal doing that constantly.
Right, every all the time. Exact same motion every single time.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, I mean, I kind of thingy though. If he doesn't throw a brick at least once in the TV show, like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I want him to like pick a brick up and be like, and then just, but then like, I don't know. I think, it could be good. But yeah, the whole point was they started filming that. And I was like, the guy who wrote Chernobyl is writing that, so I was like, I'll watch Chernobyl, even though he wrote a bunch of other stuff that wasn't good. But he wrote Chernobyl, so that's good. So it's okay. Well,
honestly, I'm now in the mindset that anyone can improve. Like, I remember when Damon Lindelof was announced to be the guy who was writing the Watchmen show, and I was like, oh great, the guy who ruined Lost. Yeah, brilliant, bring him on. It's fine. It was a good show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyone can be redeemed nowadays.
Exactly.
I don't know. I'll do like a cheesy, terrible segue. Like, who knows? Maybe if they make The Last of Us a good show, it can win awards. Speaking of,
that was cheesy. Nice.
Our last segment, we wanted to discuss. It's award season right now. And instead of just breaking down a list of like nominees or whatever, or award ceremonies that have been and gone, or speculating about ones that are going to come up, I want to talk more broadly for not just the film industry, but for entertainment in general. How important do we think awards are now? Because I've been thinking about this, and my perspective is weird because the cynical part of me says, not very. They're not for us. They're for studios. They're for marketing. But as a creative, as someone who wants to work in film and TV myself, kind of want a BAFTA, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm like. It's...
I'm not bothered about the Academy. I would quite like a BAFTA. Want one of those golden faces, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to know whether if you put it up to your own face, whether you can actually look through the eye holes and like wear it as a mask. Like if I won
Is that
one,
the only reason
like,
you want one?
Yeah, no, that's for me. If I won one of they do that bit where they all like pose with it. Just be me holding it like, with a mask. Just do it like, hey.
Probably just buy one of those, you know, just buy
probably,
like
but
a knockoff.
It's not the same then, you know.
Rather put it off
what
until we do win the BAFTA.
Like, do you reckon it's heavy? Like, I can't imagine it's just made of plastic, but I also don't believe it's actually made of gold. So
no,
like,
it's no way it's made of gold.
No way is it gold.
Like, is it just thingy though? Like, do you reckon it's made of actual like heavy metal,
like brass or something?
Yeah, I imagine they're quite heavy. Although they wasn't the one year where they were blue, like kind of like glass almost.
Maybe.
I'm sure EE like did one of the BAFTAs one year, and they were blue.
Oh God, no! I do remember that. Yeah.
Imagine winning that year. You'd be so disappointed.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, that's the only one. It's like, here's my BAFTA. It's like, are you sure? It kind of looks a bit like a knockoff. It's like, no, it was. I promise. It was just EE.
I mean, speaking of that though, actually, that's just reminded me because the video game BAFTAs have just been and gone, and I didn't watch the ceremony, but I've seen the winners, and one of the things that was really weird because this is the cynical part of me kicking back in, right? There was 2 best game awards at the BAFTAs. There was the best game presented by the BAFTAs, and there was Game of the Year presented by EE. Like, essentially, that's the same award, surely.
Yeah.
So the best game chosen by the BAFTAs was Hades, which was the game that should have won the VGAs. And this is the thing. Because I have to fucking say statements like that, that means I care. That means I care for some stupid reason. Hades won best game, but The Last of Us Part 2 won the one done by EE. Which, again, just makes me think, well, it's just so that they can slap the company Game of the Year award on the box of The Last of Us Part 2 zombieing edition for PS5. Like, it's just a marketing label. But, by that proxy, are you influenced to like buy something or watch something or listen to something because it's won an award?
I mean, not because it's won an award. Like, for me, I'm kind of like I'll want to watch something anyway, but like there'll be a case of like I won't know about films, and then maybe I will know about it, but then I won't like think to watch something like unless I don't know they get nominated. It's not like what they've won; it's more like them being nominated for me. If they've been nominated, then I'll watch them because then I'll be like, yeah, I've seen the films that have been nominated.
Fair enough.
But
for me,
I'm not.
It's more the awards to me are more important when something I watch and enjoyed and like, when that gets nominated, I'm like, oh yeah, I want that thing to win now.
A bit of vindication,
yeah. It's mostly the only recent examples I can think of are like The Mandalorian getting nominated for like special effects Emmys, or I'm pretty sure he got a writing Emmy actually.
Yeah.
Or nominated for one anyway, or like Endgame and Infinity War getting nominated for special effects. They aren't really the big awards that people are like gunning after, but I'd quite like to see a film that I like win an award rather than an award determining whether or not I watch something. Having said that, I do want to watch Borat 2 because it won awards. Was it Borat?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Borat, yeah.
Subsequent movie film. Yeah.
Yeah. That has won awards, I'm pretty sure. And so for that reason now I'm like, what? Okay, I've got to see this now. But only because it's kind of surprising.
This is fair. I like your perspective, Joe. I find interesting because when I read the Oscar noms, I did kind of use that as like a list of things I should check out because honestly I'm not the most connected to movie releases. Like if it isn't part of the big franchises, a lot of them do pass me by. I'm ashamed to admit.
That's fair.
Like some of them, I'm kind of 50. It kind of depends. Like sometimes I'll thingy, but then there'll be other times, where it doesn't like. It'll just completely pass me by, and it won't be until something's like nominated or whatever that I spot it.
I only see, honestly, this is bad, but I only see a lot of more interesting creative films because they happen to have had a director attached that maybe has worked in the big franchises. Like not last year, the year before. Was it the year before? Jesus, you're gonna know what I mean. It's fine. When Jojo Rabbit came out,
Yeah.
I saw that in the cinema. I loved it. It's a brilliant movie. Would recommend it to anyone. I only saw that because I like Taika Waititi, and I only like Taika Waititi because he did Thor Ragnarok. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I saw a trailer for What We Do in the Shadows the year it came out, but I did not watch it the year it came out. I watched it because I liked Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Now, I am, like, genuinely somewhat, like, ashamed to admit that, right? But there's perhaps a different discussion to be had about the benefit of bringing in creative directors to big franchises and then, you know, expanding their audience out from there.
Yeah.
But, like, Promising Young Woman, for example, I think is a movie I wouldn't have heard about at all if it wasn't for its Academy nomination. And it was the same for Parasite last year.
Yeah.
I actually think there's a benefit to that.
I don't think I would have heard of Parasite. Well,
No,
this is like
more
the thing
about what the awards should be, really, isn't it? Rather than
Yeah.
it should be bringing more. I'd say good, but like not niche. What's the word? Like hidden gems, I guess.
Yeah. Things
Yeah.
that just
Out
aren't
of the
like
woodwork.
as available. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because like it's really, we kind of mentioned it a bit when we spoke about it last week. Like a lot of stuff, a lot of the Oscar nominations for this year, like we can't actually watch here in the UK. Like you can some of them, but that's kind of the problem with it. Like in America, it's probably got them on like Hulu or some shit, but like over here, you gotta like go to like a bunch of different thingies. Like Mank is on Netflix, and then if that Promising Young Woman is actually on Sky, that's on Sky. What's the others? I can't remember some of the others. Thingy's not out yet. That Nomad. No, is it Nomad?
Yeah, it is Nomad.
That was called. Yeah. That's not even out over here yet. I think I read that they'd bring it to Disney Plus. Maybe, I don't know. But that's what I mean. Like, yeah, that's like there's probably more, but just you can't like actually get them like over here like straight away. So I think them being nominated, kind of you need to like distribute them more. You know what I mean? Like make them more thingy. Like because it's kind of annoying. We were saying like, you know, we hear about them through the nominations, and then I'm like, right, I want to watch that. I can't watch it. I have to do it on. If I want to watch it so desperately, I have to find it online somewhere, which kind of defeats the point of like, you know, cinema based stuff. I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird thingy. Like the thing for like rewards for me is I actually had to Google what the nominations were last year because to make sure I was getting it right. But you mentioned Parasite and stuff. The thing that I like the like Academy Awards for and like the Oscars and stuff is I like watching, similar to what you said, Jacob, where I like watching something and then it be nominated, like, oh yeah, it's so good, I'm glad that it's been nominated. I kind of also like watching something. So, for example, last year, Joker, I watched Joker, I really liked Joker in the cinema, I watched it twice in the cinema, and then it got nominated for an Oscar. I was like, oh yeah, man, it deserves to win. By that point, I hadn't seen any of the stuff. Actually, let me double check what's the other stuff. Yeah, so, but yeah, by that point I hadn't seen any of the others. Oh no, I'd seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think. And I was like, yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's good, but Joker's better, you know, kind of thing. I've watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a few times now, and I actually like it a lot more than I did. But then that was kind of like the thing of it, like, I'd watch Joker's like, right, Joker's better win, and then I went to watch 1917 in the cinema. I was like, oh man, no, that needs to win. That is so much better. It's like, it's so good and it's so thingy. And then I watched, and then the actual Oscars happened, and then Parasite won. And I was like, you know, I don't know, maybe. I wish like one of the others won, but da-da-da. But then I actually watched Parasite, and I was like, oh man, yeah, man, I understand, I get by that one. Kind of, you know, that's the bit of it that I like, is like watching all the different ones and being like, yeah, man, that one's gonna win, or that one deserves to win. But then watching another one, and then I like I like liking it so much that I'm like, yeah, man, I want that one to win. That's the kind of the part of it that I like. I haven't had that opportunity to do it this year because obviously, like, nothing's really available and stuff. But yeah, I just like that part of it. I think it's more the influence that the nominations have for me rather than the winnings and stuff. Like I don't like something winning an award has never actually like made me want to watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more the being nominated.
It's hard to take seriously sometimes because there's two things that stand out. One personally in my life, and one thing that I'm sure we've all seen as being just really like seeing through the illusion, I suppose, of the awards. So the thing that I think we've all seen would be The Martian winning Best Comedy. You know, because that was so obviously and overtly. Well, The Martian has to win an award. Ridley has to win an award at the Golden Globes. Everything else has been booked up. What can we give to The Martian? I don't know. Donald Glover's in it. Give it Best Comedy. Like, you know, it was very clearly. And the other thing, and this is, I can't like confirm this as being the case, but like I can tell you the sequence of events. And there was so here in England, Manchester. If you produce films, short films and things like this, you can get nominated, especially when you're a student. You can pretty easily get nominated and considered for Royal Television Society Awards Northwest, and then on to a national scale and stuff, the RTS Awards. And my university has, my course that I attended sponsored the RTS for many, many, many years. And we won many RTS awards. And nice. There was one particular year where I attended the RTS awards because my partner worked on a film that was nominated, and our course did not sponsor the RTS that year, and our course did not win a single one of the nominations that we were up for. Now, I'm not saying because the course didn't give them any money, they didn't give us any awards, but every other year we'd won, then we didn't pay them, then we didn't.
It's interesting, that, isn't it?
Did all the ones that did pay him, did they all win?
Yes. Yes. I can't remember which college or university it was that did sponsor them that year, but they had a pretty heavy amount of wins.
Wow.
So that kind of broke the barriers, you know, to a degree. And I think one of the reasons that I was interested to have this discussion is because I still don't know, really, despite having been through that and seen that, why I still want one.
Yeah. It's one of those things, though, isn't it? Like, it's one of those, you kind of, from the outside, you winning, like, Oscars, winning, like, BAFTAs and stuff, it kind of seems like that's like, the end point, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I know obviously in that situation it's not, because you don't just say you're like, I don't know, an actor, you're like, right, won my Oscar now, don't need to do acting ever again, I'm sorted for life now, I've got to the end, completed the game. You know, it's not like thingy, but that's kind of what you're aiming towards, you know what I mean? Like, it might not be for all, it isn't for all, like, directors or writers and thingies, but I imagine for a lot of people, you know, especially people like us who've kind of grown up, you know, seeing all these awesome movies winning all these, like, awards and stuff, and then seeing the ones that we did not think deserved the awards and stuff, like, thinking, like, oh, man, that film was well shit, you know, why did that win? I could have made a better film than that one, kind of thing. That, I think seeing all that kind of makes you, like, if that film can win an award, why can't I, kind of thing. Yeah,
that's true.
So I think it kind of, that's why you kind of want one, is because, you know, you think you've kind of been led to believe that winning an Oscar is like the end game that's like what you're striving towards as like a creative in like TV and film and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe not TV for an Oscar, but you know what I mean? Like film and stuff like that. When actually it's not really, is it? Like just being able to do stuff, right, and just... And
having feel accomplished and proud of what you've done.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Like, but I think at the same time, you're still going to always have that. Unless maybe you win one and then you're like, right, well, there you go, scratch that itch. I'll do something else now. I'll try and win one for Best Actor instead.
I think potentially there's an element of, even if I could view them from a purely cynical standpoint of, oh, they're there for businesses, they're all there just slapping DVD cases or whatever. If I make something that is not only well received amongst the audience, but it makes business sense to give me a golden mask, I think, that's something special, where I can be like, I've broken through, I've made a creative product that's resonated with human people, and even companies think that I deserve something.
Well, it's that thing in it, like, where for me, I don't think I would ever, like, I don't think I'd be one of those people where it's like, boycott the Oscars, If they want to give me one, they want to give me one of those golden people with the fucking thingy, like, I'll take it if they're going, you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Like, I assume that you have your name engraved on it, so, like, yeah, man, probably. I'll get, like, a cabinet and shit. I wouldn't. I don't think I'd get a cabinet, that'd be weird, but I'd get, like, a...
Not for one. There's only one once you have, like, 3 or more, maybe.
Yeah, I know, yeah. If you've got, like, a few, then maybe a cabinet, maybe some LED lighting that the Alexa can turn on for you. Imagine that, though. Imagine being like, oh, man, yeah, turn on my Oscar cabinet. Like, how much of a flex is that, just saying it? Turn on my awards cabinet, it just comes up, like, flashing lights and stuff. Man.
It ascends from the floor, just rises up.
Yeah, it just comes like with like holy music played, just like ooh, as it's like lowering. It's like, what'd you win that for? Best costume.
Hair and makeup. I mean,
those really, that really annoys me. Actually, that's the one thing about Oscars and stuff I don't like. I don't know if they do it anymore. They probably do. When they show off the awards during the they do certain awards during the ad breaks,
right?
Yeah,
like, that's so, like, cheeky, you know what I mean? Like, some of these people, like, it's like we were saying, people have been, like, striving, like, the whole career to get Oscars, and then imagine getting yours when it's on a fucking ad break.
I would be gutted,
That'd be horrible.
I made a joke there about hair and makeup, but some of the special effects,
well, yeah, that's what I mean, like, I'm not gonna joke about it, but, like,
really
it's
good.
It's like these.
It's because they put the main event stuff as, best actor, best actress, best director, best film and stuff, but it is on, like, it's weird because I was so readily, like, belly laughed at it, but the reality is it's those people. It's those people in hair and makeup. It's those people in costume.
Yeah.
It's those people in set design that make some of the most incredible films what they are. I'm thinking of, like, Alien.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the production designer you had on that movie, it wouldn't be that movie.
Or even Star Wars. Like, Star Wars is
Star
the
Wars
thingy.
great
If you
example.
didn't have the look of Star Wars, that's what set it apart from everything else.
Yeah.
Is that the look of it and the just everything.
And that ain't George. He might be approving stuff, but that's not him.
Yeah. It wasn't his direction, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It wasn't him that made the thingy. Like, you look at the basic story of Star Wars, it's very basic. The thing that makes Star Wars is the music, the costumes, the sets, the acting, and a lot of it as well. I think the marketing obviously played a huge part in Star Wars, but I don't think there's an Oscar for, best toy releases. Toy awards maybe, but
yeah, I'm sure there is.
Yeah, it sucks that they put all that stuff first as well, because they know that people are only there for the big ones, and it's irritating. But man, don't give out any awards during the ad breaks. That's just doing dirty. That
it's a way to signify that this was good enough that you deserve an accolade, but you're not important enough to bother screen time on it, and that's a shame. That is a shame.
It is.
I think there's an element of the awards that I would take more seriously if they did. If they didn't do awards during ad breaks. I understand that it's a long ceremony and you've got to get through a lot, but
this is the thing though. Like, it's a long ceremony, but they don't hide the fact that it is. Like, you know what I mean? They just say, it's going to be like 3 hours long because it's a long ceremony. There's a lot of awards to give out. That's fine. I'll sit and watch. You know what I mean? It's. I'm not going to go into it and it'd be about an hour in, like, oh man, it's taking ages. This, innit? I just wish they got to the thing you want. I go into it expecting it to be really long, like. The people getting the awards have to fucking sit there for them, you know what I mean? Sit in those chairs for ages, like... like... You know, I can sit on my couch.
And the other big thing is, like, just in terms of who's even getting the look, who's even getting nominated, because I think the Oscars in particular, I know it's the American Academy, whatever, right? But like that, it has such a prestige to it, the Oscars, that I think they should take themselves more seriously in regards to being kind of this global accomplishment for film. You know, the Shaun the Sheep film is nominated in Best Animation this year. That's a British staple, you know, Shaun the Sheep. That's a very British part of British iconography. And I think the thing is this Oscars is noteworthy because the Academy has acknowledged that at least 2 women definitely exist. And that's wild that should be something that's a noteworthy thing. Like the amount of female directors, I do know there's if anyone wants to come at me with like, well, actually the actual disparity of people who are working in the field, don't fucking come at me with that shit, right? Like I went to fucking film school. I don't know what it was like for you, Joe. Half my class was women, if not more.
Oh yeah, it was
so many women that want to work in film and they are struggling to get in, and a lot of them are going out and making films on their own time and their own money. Like, don't come at me with that shit. The Academy should recognize on a more global scale more forms of filmmaking and more creators in general. It should not be the case where it's so pared down, because that's when the cynicism keeps coming back in me. I would take it more seriously as a viewer and even potentially as a consumer if I saw that they were.
Yeah. It's just like one of those like.
No, go on, Joe.
No, I was just gonna say it's one of those things, isn't it? Like, it's really hard to see whether that there's it's difficult to know whether they're nominating stuff still because of the thing. You like, are they? Because if they're nominating something just because they need the diversity in the nominations, it defeats the point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if they're only nominating these films because they don't nominate loads of like female directors, that defeats the point. You're not meant to be doing it that way. It's like, oh right, we need like a film directed by a woman. Let's just that one's good. No, don't do that. Nominate it because it's good. But then at the same time, that's what they might be doing. They might be actually, like, we might think that the Academy is this big evil. Like, oh, we need to make sure that everyone's thingy, make all the money. But you know, they might actually just be people who like watching films. As like, right, I like that film. I'm gonna put that one up. These are the ones we nominated. But then it's just there's no way of knowing. That's kind of the problem with it.
This is true.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But
what I was gonna say was, if there was a way that all of the films that were nominated were all on one streaming platform that was free for anyone to watch, and then the one that was watched the most, like, watch the most, maybe not necessarily a ranking on there, but almost if there was like a yearly IMDb award, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you hold that in higher esteem than like
it's
Academy
interesting
Awards?
because it really does go off audience engagement.
Yeah. Which is hard to do because there are so many different like streaming providers and people who make films, and you can't offer it to everyone for free because they're not making any money. But
then the problem there is streaming services don't have like this is a gag, this is a bit like box. They don't have like a thing that you tick when you go in to tell them that you're being serious about having watched this movie.
That's true. Yeah,
because then the B movie wins every year. The B movie wins best movie, or Now You See Me wins best movie, because there's no box that you can tick. It's like, no, you're not being serious about this.
No, yeah, that's true.
Kind of,
you could,
it's kind of a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah, you could quite easily get like one specific, like a podcast, one maybe with a bit bigger audience than us, Soz, but thank you for listening to this one if you are, but get more people to listen to it, please. They could just say, hey, go on the streaming service, everyone vote for this, and that could quite easily influence it.
Yeah, manipulated, yeah.
But
yeah.
But if there was, in a perfect world, a streaming service where everyone seriously voted for those films, what do you think would be like, that the film that won the most watched film, or highest rated film, I haven't seen that yet, I should watch that? Or would you wait for a critic or awarding body? What do you think?
See,
I think Sorry, go on, Joe.
no, I was just gonna say, like, with audiences and stuff, it's kind of weird, and you get more of a sense of how the film, like, for me, with like critics and stuff, I don't actually read reviews. Like, I never actually did. I read a few for like some stuff, but I never do now. You know what I mean? Like, I'll see that critics are saying that this film's gonna be bad. You know, early reviews and stuff. Like, I don't really read them because it's not until the film actually comes out and like I start actually talking to people who've seen it that I start to like. I don't know, you're meant to, not judge what your opinion on a film based on like what people are telling you or whatever, but you do. It's just something we all naturally do anyway. Like, you go into a film with an expectation. You can't.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I went into the film with an open mind. No, you didn't, because you had even if you try not to have the thing, you still had an opinion on what even if it's not your opinion, you still had an idea what everyone else says about the film. You know what I mean? Like, you still know that this person didn't like it and this person did. So you're like, you're gonna have your doubts and you're gonna have your thingies anyway. So having that reward about the audience and stuff, that for me, if I knew that the reason it would win an award is because an audience voted for it, I feel like I would be more inclined to watch it then. I would use it more as a thingy because I know, because that's kind of how I do it anyway. If there's a film I'm not sure about watching, I'll see what the actual audiences have to say about it before I see what critics. Because I don't trust like critics anyway. Because you've got like fucking people giving it like 5 stars, and it's a load of trash. Snyder Cut. And like,
and now come on, I think that was audiences more than critics.
Yeah, I was gonna say actually, yeah, that's a good point. That won't actually count as my point. Is audiences.
This is the weird thing, right? About me is like, I actually think that all awards bodies should have an element, if not in their entirety, be decided by public vote. I think that's honestly the only way to really gauge what people were really into. I don't mind the idea of an awards body doing the nominations, like doing the work of picking out the things that they think are worthy of the best, and then it's up to people to vote on those nominations. I think that's an interesting, and I think that does hold more credence. Here's the issue: I am the worst, most annoying type of hipster. And if you tell me that this thing won by a popular vote, I'm never going to watch it. I'm never going to... If that's something people like, fuck that, man. You know what? You know who I am? I'm someone who's never seen any of Breaking Bad. Not a second. Not a single solitary second.
It's so
and
bad,
I haven't watched Better Call Saul, and I'm not going to watch the movie, right? And I'm not going to do it. And the more people tell me, no, but Sam, it's really good. Sam, it's worth it. It's not happening.
No, it's bad. It's bad.
Not going to happen.
Good, It's terrible,
It's a bad show? Well, I didn't miss anything then, did I?
It's not even worth watching.
It's called Breaking Bad.
I mean, if you're bored, you could probably... Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's not worth watching. But if you're bored, maybe stick it on. I don't know. But
you don't have to pay attention to it. Yeah, and that's the thing is I do think in a weird way, because it's this selected group of whatever officials that are picking the stuff, I don't know if that makes me trust it more. That sounds deranged that I've just proposed that, but like, it's where my brain's worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what, right, it is really weird. Like, who's on the Academy? It's like a bunch of actors and producers and thingies and stuff, isn't it? Whenever I think of the Academy, right, I don't know why, but Alec Baldwin pops into my head. Is he on the Academy? Is he ever been on the Academy? Should we have a look?
So, if he is, he's very generous because he's never won one. Could have just made himself win one, but he's not. He's been nominated for Best Supporting Actor in The Cruella. But other than that, he's never won one. What an oddly specific... The thing is, when you started that sentence, I thought you were going to say, I think of the Academy as being like a wretched, hunched-over old man with like a hunchback and like glasses that glisten in the light. I didn't think Alec Baldwin was going to come out.
It's a very specific Alec Baldwin as well. It's like Alec Baldwin dressed as Michael from GTA 5 in that like white shirt and like light grey thingy, but with like no tie on. You know what I mean? Just like no tie, white shirt, just unbuttoned blazer, sunglasses. Yeah. No, he doesn't wear sunglasses. It's just Alec Baldwin dressed as Michael from I don't know where that image has come from, but that's just what my brain associates with the Academy now. So like, if I ever won an Oscar, I'd just walk past Alec Baldwin and be like, thanks, mate. Just that'd be it. And he'd be like, the fuck was that?
That's relying on a lot there, isn't it?
Yeah.
For one, you've got to win the award, and
I've
two,
gotta win the award, yeah.
you just have to walk past Alec Baldwin at some point,
Hoping that he's actually there, yeah.
It's good.
During your acceptance speech, you're scanning the audience for Alec Baldwin.
There he is, hey! Everyone, round of applause for Alec Baldwin. He's just like...
He's like, what have I done? He goes, he knows why, but everybody, he knows.
Oh man, Alec Baldwin.
That's incredible. What a grift. I want to be there so badly for that. That's amazing. So, I mean, I don't think we've really necessarily come to a consensus, but it's been an interesting chat. Like,
yeah,
I think that their existence, if we can say anything, it is important that they exist because, to a degree, and it's honestly, it's the same for me with, like, I hate to admit it because it makes me sound like a lame wad, but because the Grammys suck. But sometimes, if someone's been nominated for a Grammy, I might check them out when I otherwise wouldn't have done. You know? I've done it the past couple of years. So, I think it's important that they exist because for films like Your Parasites, Your Promising Young Woman, who I wouldn't have heard of, and things like this, I think it's important that they exist in order to try and get those kinds of films more exposure, especially in a movie industry that is completely dominated by Disney and Star Wars and Marvel. And even though I love those properties, they shouldn't be the only things that exist.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's while people like to complain about, oh, well, the Academy never recognizes superhero awards, and when they do, it's always with a little caveat. And They don't need the recognition, you know?
Yeah. It's better to, like, for me, I think it's better to nominate the films that, like you said, aren't gonna thingy. Like maybe the ones that aren't on all the streaming services and stuff, and like I get that. I think that's better. Like I kind of, Endgame was good. It had obviously it was everyone liked it. It had like the CGI was pretty amazing, but I don't think it needed to win. It didn't need to win an Oscar. Like it already won. It already managed to be like the highest grossing film in the whole world until James Cameron was sour about it and pulled a fucking crybaby move. But I think certain ones maybe if it genuinely stands out, you know what I mean? Like
it's a really
if
good
it
movie.
Genuinely if you took out the Marvel element or even just thought of it as its own standalone movie, which I know you're gonna get a lot of people be like, oh, but this one does that. Yeah, I mean like an exceptional. Yeah, it stands out. Like it could be its own thing. Yeah.
I tell you what, actually, on that count, while I do think superhero movies don't necessarily need the recognition, I do sort of think that Marvel's TV efforts deserve a look in at the Emmys,
Yeah.
From this year, it's been above and beyond what I expected it to be.
Well, this is kind of what I mean. Like, if it's so different that it kind of it's his own thing, like you don't need to watch all the other stuff to kind of, if it's that good, that it just naturally deserves one. You know what I mean? Like it's like the whole thing about a film being like Oscar bait and stuff, like. I don't know. I don't know whether that still exists anymore. Like, it does, but not in the same way that it used to. Like, there used to be the whole thing about how actors and studios would make a film and they would make it a certain way so it wouldn't win an Oscar kind of thing. I don't necessarily know if that's... I mean, I don't know. It might still happen all the time, but it doesn't feel as obvious as it used to.
Yeah, the sorts of movies are changing quite heavily. Like... That's why Cats was made. As bizarre as that sounds to think of that movie, but the only reason they greenlit Cats and put Tom Hooper in the directing chair was because he won an award for Les Mis. It suddenly showed that musicals could be award winners, so let's get one of the Lloyd Webber classics, put Tom Hooper in the director's chair. That's an instant award for us. Oopsie, we made it Cats.
Oh, they
think
really
that's the
fucked
thing,
that one
yeah.
up, didn't they?
I feel like it's because it's sometimes you can think, can't you? Even a film from like 2004 or something that I don't even know, I don't even care enough to Google if it won an Oscar or not. You can just tell. You're watching it, you can just tell that it was made specifically, whatever, to win an Oscar.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, it's fine. It's all those types of movies. I'm like, yeah, whatever, great. Like, they don't age at all, you know what I mean? Like, they're very kind of... It's like when games and just companies use, like, memes and shit to do stuff.
Oh,
right?
It's the worst, because you give it, like, a year, it's going to be so outdated that it hurts. And that people are going to actively avoid it. Like, it's one of those things. I think, especially now as well. Like, stuff like memes and stuff, it's popular for like a week and then that's it. It's done. It's over. It's gone to something else. I think it moves so quick that maybe that's why they don't do the Oscar bait stuff as much anymore. Because they know that if they do it, they're going to be outdated by the time the fucking Oscar comes around.
Yeah. And it probably they probably have found that they're not as financially viable. Like years and years and years down the line, they're not the films they keep repackaging and redistributing. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so in that regard, I think it's important that these awards bodies exist in order to try and gain exposure to perhaps slightly lesser known, really quality films. And I hope they continue to trend in that direction. The last thing I think they should be doing is catering to the mainstream. Oh, well, give Zack Snyder don't do that.
No, no thanks. There's no part of that film that deserves a reward.
Right. Thank you very much for watching. Let us know what you think of Points Awards or anything else we've discussed in this episode in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed this episode and everything we do at the Outtakes, please consider hitting that subscribe button to get updates on when we're doing new stuff, and hit the like button and share it with your mates as well. If you've been listening to us on podcast, you can also hit the follow button on whatever your podcast app of choice is to get instant new episodes whenever we deliver them, and follow us on social media at The Real Outtakes on Twitter and Instagram for other updates on things we might be doing. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.